Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire. This is our Path of the Damned Herald run, episode 125. We are in the Forgotten Sanctum, and I think we're ready to progress. So we're gonna mess around with the Trephine and see how it goes.
Of course.
Fingers crossed. The squat device before you hums quietly, except that it's entirely silent. The humming sensation, you realize, happens not in your ears, but at the edge of your mind. Are there any classes you think are mostly unrepresented in the story companions? Ooh, that's a good one. Here, let me look up a class list real quick. I don't remember everything off the top of my head. Pillars of Eternity 2 classes. Let's see. So, Barbarian is relatively, okay, so quick caveat here, okay? There are main storyline companions, right? They're the ones who actually are involved in the factions, etc. And then there are side NPCs that you can have on your party that typically aren't involved in a lot of things. So I'm gonna talk mostly about the main story companions, okay? The side NPCs are just barely have dialogue. Like, normally they only have dialogue in very special quests or like DLCs, like Facina, right? So those are a different caveat. Barbarian is not really super well represented. I think the only Barbarian that you can get in the base companions is Seraphim. Which, you know, you can do. Chanter is not super represented. I don't know that there's one. I think maybe... I don't remember any... I'm sure there is, but there's not a lot, right? Cypher, Seraphim is typically a Cypher right out of the gate. That's his kind of like base class, is Cypher. Druid, Tekehu is a druid right out of the gate. Adair is a fighter right out of the gate. Shodi can be a monk, but monk is kind of less represented, I suppose. Paladin, Pelagina is a paladin right out of the gate. Priest, Shodi is a priest right out of the gate. Ranger, Maya is a ranger right out of the gate. Rogue, Rogue is not underrepresented, but a lot of people, if you do multi-classes, a lot of people have access to Rogue. Like, Maya has access to Rogue, Adair has access to Rogue, etc. And then Aloth is a wizard right out of the gate. So, of the base, of the main NPCs, the least represented classes are probably Barbarian, Chanter, and Monk, I would say. At the same time, though, those classes aren't really like... To me, I think some of those classes are really fun classes or really good subclasses. But, like, I don't like Barbarian a lot outside of a subclass. I love Chanter. I think Chanter is one of the coolest classes. Chanter was the first class that I played in 2. I played a Summoner Chanter, and it was ridiculously strong. It has since been slightly nerfed, but it's still very strong. And then Monk is really interesting, but Monk, for me, the issue with Monk is, and always probably will be, is in a game like this, you have these, you get all these cool legendary weapons, right? And more often than not, Monk can't use them, because Monk, you know, gets bonuses for unarmed combat. And it just makes it feel bad, right? That you're like, I want to use monk weapons, but there aren't really very many of them. You know, that type of thing? Anyways, hope that answers your question. Picture the key you received from the memory hoarder in your mind's eye. You place your hands on either side of the machine. The not quite sound grows louder. It gives you the impression of a growling stomach, hungry for something within you. Ooh. Do we sacrifice the knowledge of how to use the machine, or do we sacrifice the memory? Step away. Step away.
You return with news, I hope. Very
No.
well.
I was...
Come to chat?
Wondering if either of them would give me like some insight or something. Or maybe Facina or Aloth, but
Indeed.
nope. Let's do a quick save, and then let us sacrifice the memory. A prickling sensation scales your arms, sliding into the joints of your shoulders and slipping up your spine into the base of your skull. You feel lessened somehow, as something slips from your mind like something you just meant to say. It flows down your arms and into the trephine, which whirls contentedly. The machine quiets, returning to its inactive state. Nothing further happens.
Ah, watch me go.
Yes?
What?
Of course.
I'm listening. Your orders.
Did I just sacrifice that memory for nothing? Okay. Well, that was it.
You first, Ishi.
How novel.
I would join you down there, but I've got this fear of being digested. You understand.
Oh, fuck off, Tane. You always want me to do your dirty work. You never want to get involved, and then you want to lecture me afterwards. At least Lingrath will get her hands dirty. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's not getting her hands dirty in this particular situation, but she has in the past. I've witnessed her do so in the past. So. Alright, upper bowels. You get that, kitty cat. Look at that boy.
I'm listening.
I feel like now I feel I'm slightly intoxicated. Sorry, I'm buzzed, but I feel like I have to caveat what I said earlier and say every class I think is represented by the companions. If you're interested, right? Like it's just a matter of like you can't have every class at once unless you multi-class, but every class is an option, right? Like Seraphine is a Cypher or a Barbarian or a Cypher Barbarian, right? Maya is a Ranger Rogue or a Ranger Rogue. Aloth is a Wizard Fighter or a Wizard Fighter, right? So like every class is represented. It's just
You were saying?
you can't have all of them at the same time
Ishi.
unless you
Quiet
multi-class. And even then it's hard depending on how you align things.
Happily.
Poultry? That was Orc? What?
The god forms ducts and descended into the chambers below.
We must follow. The body would not harm those who care for it.
The body is not responsible for this wizardry. Return from the canal is recommended.
Oh, nasty way to go.
Oh my goodness. What you're trying to grapple is what the core things you need, especially since they dropped the party size to 5. Gotcha. Yeah. So typically I would say, and this, take this with a grain of salt, right? Because this is going to depend on skill level and what you're trying to get out of the game. There are people who actively can play this game and they will, they'll do crazy shit where they like solo the entire game with a single character, with a single class, and destroy it. For general purpose playing the game and having a good time, even on harder difficulties.
Why are you carrying so many eggs? Surely they will spoil.
I mean, you're not wrong. The thing that I would recommend is always keep this in mind. You are going to need someone who can heal. Okay? People will tell you that that's not true. but I played the game multiple times, and every single time I play the game, if I try to play it without a healer, I'm like, okay, this is almost all but impossible unless I'm cheaping the game in some way, shape, form, or fashion, right? So Shodi or Takehu tend to be your best out-of-the-box healers, though you could make your own healer if you wanted to, okay? So there's that. You almost always need to have some sort of tank, right? A person to initiate combat and take the majority of the focus in a battle and not instantly die. This game can be very, very, very bad about focus firing the first person that walks into combat and just obliterating them. So if the person that you have start combats is not tanky, right? They don't have to, they're not taunting people or anything like that. But if they can't take a hit, then you're probably going to have a bad time. The best person out of the box for that tends to be Adair. Pallegina can somewhat do that if you build her right, okay? Or again, you could make a character you could make your main be the goal for that. And then typically it's just a matter of having 3 other DPS characters. So it sounds kind of quintessential in the concept of like a tank, a healer, and then 3 DPS, but it really is kind of like how they designed the game. It really kind of does boil down to that. Can you do it without that? Can you do a game where you're doing, you know, no healers, but a lot of like CC, like you've got like 2 wizards and a cipher and, you know, a druid or what have you, and you're really doing a whole bunch of CC? You don't use a dedicated debuffer. That's how you use the Alothan a lot in 1. For me, DPS always, well, I guess it doesn't always. When I say DPS, it kind of determines into a scenario of they're not tanking and they're not healing, so they are responsible for either damaging the enemy, DPS, or making it to where DPS can continue. And that tends to be like a debuffer or something like that. So for this particular run, for example,
What's on your mind? Let's go.
right? My Aloth, for example, is really a DPS character rather than a debuffer. But you could build him as a debuff character, or you could build him as like a evocation, like spell DPS character. I actually have him built as a again, because I set the challenge to multi-class, I have him built as more of a fighter, buffs himself and makes his attack stronger type of main. But absolutely, you could take him as a debuffer. You could take Seraphin, who's a cipher, as a debuffer, right? You could take him as a debuffer or as a DPS, or as kind of like an in-between. You could do Takehu as a debuffer. You could do Pallegina as a debuffer, right? You got plenty of options. I would say, if nothing else, one of the best things that this game does is it doesn't constrain you that much. Almost anything that you think is going to be cool, you're going to be able to do. As far as like class combinations or things like that go. And most of them are going to work. There are very few things that I have tried that have been like, this isn't really that good. You know, that type of thing. Actually, most of them work pretty well. Obviously, not all of them are optimal, like the best case situation, but most of them work pretty good. It's just that situation of like at least having one person to take the initial hits is important, and one person to be able to heal or resurrect people, right? Like that's the situation. It's not always like that you need a constant healer. It can be useful, but you don't always need a constant healer. But having someone who has a resurrection, because there's going to be burst damage that happens in the game that you're going to be like, what the fuck just happened? I have no idea why this person just died. And you need to be able to resurrect them in those situations. Otherwise, you're probably going to have a rough time in some of the later fights. That type of stuff. And then the 3 others is kind of like, do you want a bunch of debuffers? Great, do that. Do you want a bunch of DPS characters? Great, do that. Do you want a mix of like buff, debuff, DPS, etc.? Have at it.
Of course.
Does this go further down? It does. The chemical reek of the bile in this pool scorches your nostrils. Though the liquid drains into the fleshy tube below, ducts around the pool steadily belch more fluid into the shaft. From the reactions of the faceless caretakers, it seems like Fionleg descended here. Fionleg? I can't remember how they said his name. You rather doubt that entering the bile would be advantageous to your health. Investigate the pool. With Maya. The muscular circumference of the orifice quivers slightly as if struggling against the onslaught of putrid bile. The ducts spilling the fluid into the canal seem irritated by the constant flood. So it seems like we could probably turn off these and then safely descend. So let's try to do that.
Happily.
A slick mold clings to the wall. Moisture beads its surface. Rising from the fungus at uneven intervals are fleshy, nipple-like pustules. Grab some mold. Man, really? We don't have enough? Ah, that's unfortunate. I wish the game didn't do this. I wish the game didn't do like a party assist bonus. I wish it just let you use the party... Because you can't cover every single base, you know, with just a 5-person party. So I wish they were just like, oh, you use Shoddy's 23, not Shoddy adds to your 2, you know? Like, I'm not gonna lie, this is why, obviously I didn't do it for this particular run, but this is why in a lot of CRPGs like this, I will like cheat engine or console command my stats to be like better. Not because more often than not, I mean, you don't need it in this type of game, but I just want access to all the options, you know? Like, it irks me that I can't pick this sleight of hand option, or at least know what the sleight of hand option is, you know, that type of thing. Anyways, we're gonna grab some mold. Collect some of the mold and your hand comes away damp from a ruptured pustule. It immediately begins to itch. I got an acute rash. Oof.
Yes?
Alright then. Well, we'll just sit on that.
Say the captain.
Oh. Ooh. We got some worm dogs going on.
I see you there.
Sproutlings. Okay, we're gonna go check the other direction real quick. Fungal growth, archive subbasement. Okay, so that's an outlet. Good to know. Reptilian blood.
Indeed.
Or reptilian blood. Vessel. Observer. Okay. What is that?
Dam burst, all flowing forth, a bounteous shower, a torrent.
Of course. I can't do it.
The Deep Wrangler. Oof. Okay, let's see how this goes. We're gonna charge in. Fingers crossed.
Quite.
Have I tried the turn-based mode at all? Real time with pause kind of bugs me, but you feel turn-based would just make the game take forever to complete. I have tried the turn-based mode. It is pretty fun. I don't think it would make the game take forever to complete. At least it didn't for me, but I have a tendency to pause a lot and like select specific actions a lot, so that can actually make the game take quite a bit longer. But I didn't find... I found that the issue for me with turn-based was that while they did a decent job with it, the game was not created for turn-based. So there are certain abilities that are really, really, really overpowered in turn-based compared to real-time with pause. And then there are certain mechanics that just don't seem to matter in real-time with pause comparatively. So take, for example, the concept of like recovery speed, right? So heavier armors, right? Or certain types of weapons have longer recovery speeds. So you can't, if you're in super heavy armor and you're wielding a really heavy weapon, you're kind of slow. You don't get as many attacks off, right? But in real time or in turn-based, it's turn-based. So you get one action, you get one turn every turn. So that type of scenario, it actually behooves you to just be like, what's the highest AC I can put on every single person, you know? Like, it doesn't matter as much then that your fighter rogue is in light armor so they can get as many attacks as possible as quickly as possible. You know, that type of thing. So, it's still fun, it's still good, but the game isn't originally balanced for it. So some of the things are kind of hit or miss on it. Or those are delayed blast fireballs. Those are gonna suck. Please get away from those.
Can't get a clean hit. There's dignity in death.
Okay, this is a legitimate complaint about the game. Apparently Maya just died. I have no idea how Maya died. But apparently she just died, just deleted. And the thing that is a complaint is that when a character full dies, they leave the party tracker. So I can't even like click on her screen and be like, okay, let's go review what happened to her. I have to like scroll through the main tracker, which can be kind of a pain in the ass. But apparently someone just destroyed the shit out of her. Hazard, Shimmering Beast grazes. It's not exactly specific in this. Yeah, yoi! How's it going, Maya? Okay? Go ahead and just load. Odie, you're gonna be disturbed. Don't roll, you're gonna fall off. He says, okay. Okay. I am positioned, Papa. I can accept the pets. The pat. The pat. How's it going, Maga? Oof. Oh, I touched his tongue. He doesn't like it when I touch his tongue. He's always surprised. You just installed the D2 beta? I watched the requisite amount of hours today to get the D2 beta, but I have not installed it yet, so.
What can I do? Certainly.
I watched, like, while I was watching, there was a lot of issues. Yeah, watched, right?
This indignity will not go unanswered.
So I was a little, like, not hesitant necessarily, but I was a little, like, about actually installing it.
Watch.
Just because there were so many freaking, like, in watching it today, like, there was I saw so many, like, bugs or issues
Happy
or
to
things like
oblige.
that I was like,
Captain,
I don't know, I might just wait, like, a little
speak
bit.
freely.
I'm here. Yes? I'd be glad
The
to.
shadow comes to muddy.
It's no use.
Speak freely.
I'll try to get the fuck away from that.
There's a wallopy!
Really? That doesn't work? That's a little unfortunate.
Didn't work.
Oh my god, seriously?
We're dropping like flies.
Well, that's unfortunate. Those guys just beamed Maya down.
Stay with us.
This did nothing.
Have I spent much time building the AI scripts? Yes and no.
Seems fair.
I don't wanna say anything along the lines of like, oh yeah, I've spent so much time building scripts. I have spent a fair amount of time in this because I don't wanna, you know, I'm sure there are people out there who have spent a crazy amount of time and have figured out every little thing. That's not me. But I have spent a fair amount of time in the scripts, and I figured out some of the idiosyncrasies with them. There's some kind of weird stuff with the scripts. I can show you kind of like some of the big stuff that I've done after this battle. So typically, you don't have to worry too terribly much about scripting unless you're doing very specific types of things. And the reason I say that is because, unfortunately, the scripting isn't good enough unless you're trying to do a really specific situation. Because if you're not trying to do a really specific situation, you can kind of just leave the scripting on the regular stuff and then be selective about what you decide to do. And if you are trying to do a very specific thing, then the scripting is relatively easy to follow. So I'll show you what I'm talking about here in just a second.
Absolutely.
Let me loot real quick.
Oh, how may I help?
So,
When the wheel has ground you all to dust,
all right.
only I will remain.
So kind of to give a better example of what I'm talking about, let's take my main character, right? My main character is a tank and really only has a few amount of options to perform, right? So out of the gate, they give you behaviors, they give you locked scripts for every class that your character has. You get an aggressive version and a cautious version. So this is the aggressive version, and it's basically built to where it has conditionals for all of the aggressive style skills that a chanter might have. Okay? And then there's a cautious version, all of the defensive style skills. Same for the paladins, aggressive and cautious. Now, those are going to work out of the gate as long as you're not wanting to do something very specific. For my main character, since I built them in a very particular way, I developed a very specific behavior which prioritizes making sure that they stay alive above all else, and then that other people stay alive above all else. So they have basically a bunch of, heal yourself for someone else, heal yourself for someone else, heal yourself for someone else. And then after the healing yourself for someone else, they have things like, oh, you're engaged by multiple people, then blind them. oh, you're engaged by multiple people and you have enough things to do your big AoE, do your big AoE. You know, that type of thing. But that's really simple. Someone like Maya, who basically just does primarily auto attacks, you can leave on just like a primary, we take like a Maya example, right? I have no scripting on her. I just have Ranger and Rogue aggressive. Just mark her to aggressive, let her shoot, right? She's going to be just fine. If you want to do something particular, every once in a while you can pick your own thing. And again, caveat, the grain of salt here is I am sure that there are people who have spent hours and hours and hours in the AI and got it to where, like, you could do that, but if you follow my 100 conditional list, you can make it to where Maya can zip around the battlefield and never get touched and always 100% kill everything by herself, which I'm sure is possible, right? I found that typically isn't super necessary. What I have found is necessary, and this is where I'm getting to. I think this is probably the most helpful thing, is if you have characters that rely primarily on buffs, the game can be kind of a pain in the ass with this, because there is no... I say that. There is no conditional that says, do I have this spell active on me? Okay? There are conditionals that say, do I have this inspiration on me? So you can kind of finagle things there, right? So for example, I have Discipline Strikes just set on a... No, actually, I have... So for Discipline Strikes, for example, I have... Do I have the inspiration for Perception up? No? Then do Discipline Strikes, right? But everything else you can see over here, right? Instead of having a specific conditional for it, I just have the conditional always true. And then I just set a cooldown on it. And the cooldown is longer than the recovery time of the spell. So for a Spirit Shield, for example, right, I have an 83-second cooldown. And that's because my Spirit Shield lasts for just under 83 seconds. This is actually kind of like a bad thing about the UI. The UI doesn't show you... because this is modified by your intelligence and other effects, right? So it doesn't show you the final number. It really should, to make things easier. But so all of these like conditionals are... this is my buff cycle for Aloth. So if he's going to die, I want him to second wind. But other than that, I want him to have Discipline Strikes up, or have Arcane Reflection up, or have Spirit Shield up. All of these things all the way down the list. And once he gets all the way down the list, if he has everything up, or he can't put any of those things up, then he starts attacking. So, and the same is, it's pretty much the same for Facina. So if you watch them at the beginning of any battle, you'll see them just go as they're kind of like going through this buff cycle and putting all these buffs on themselves, and then they'll launch into attacking. So
what
yeah.
can I do?
So that is to say, some parts of the scripting behavior I've gotten really in depth with, and then other parts of the scripting behavior I've found that it's... So like, for example, Shodi, right? Because Shodi is my main healer, I have found that the AI is so incredibly persnickety about healing that it's really hard to script a good healing AI. I've tried a number of times, as you can see, right? Like, this is my contemplative for Shodi, right? Like, she has heals, she has Holy Radiance for triggered on health, she has trigger healths here for other things, etc., etc. Your very manuals with orders in 1, but the scripting was basically non-existent. Yeah, the scripting is definitely better in 2, but there's still some things where it's like, it's just easier to do yourself. Like, healing is just easier to do yourself. I have Shodi on Monk Aggressive, and then Priest Cautious. I probably need to swap these, actually. So do like Priest Cautious, Monk Aggressive. So that she... Don't random. Do, list order. And then... You know, so you do this, and she's probably going to be fine the majority of the time. But it's just easier to select healing stuff on your own, you know? Or if you're gonna do like a wizard,
Yes?
or like a druid or something like that, but you want them to be AoE, right? Like aggressive, it's really hard to script a good targeting system for AoE, right? So you can see this is the default for Wizard Aggressive, right? And you have like things like Ninnagoth's Pillar or Bolt or Meteor Shower, right? And it has a bunch of different things. But here's the thing, like, you will legit just nuke your own people. You know? Like you will absolutely just nuke your own people. So I find if you're gonna do something that can hit your own people or needs really like specific targeting, it's just way easier to do that yourself than it is to rely on the AI to script it for you, you know? Is this a turn-based game? By default, this game is real-time with pause. I had to think for a second what the moniker is. So by default, it's real-time with pause, but there is a turn-based option for the game. You can start up the game in turn-based mode.
Happily.
This area is really loud, by the way. Seeds of Deception. Like Baldur's... Yeah, so absolutely. From default, it's just like a Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2, that type of situation. Ow. Or you can play it in turn-based mode.
Indeed. Yes?
It's a really... I like to think of it as kind of like a modern adaptation for the old Baldur's Gates. It's very... If you enjoyed those games, it is likely that you will enjoy Pillars of Eternity 1 and Pillars of Eternity 2. Not guaranteed, because there are pretty big differences, but you probably will. Unless the only reason you liked Baldur's Gate is because of the nostalgia of D&D.
Eothas will take what
God, you're
remains
so loud,
of
console
your
hot.
soul.
You played Baldur's Gate 3 and you like it a lot. So Baldur's Gate 3, if you really like Baldur's Gate 3, my recommendation would be that you play something like Divinity Original Sin 2 if you haven't already. Because Divinity Original Sin 2 is much closer to Baldur's Gate 3 than Baldur's Gate 1 or 2 are. They're very much inspired by the Infinity Engine games. Absolutely, Carl. Absolutely. 100%. Alright, let us continue. So that's the memory siphon. We have the God Seed from over here. So let's you're playing Wasteland 3 now? Hey. I have Wasteland 3 and I've played a little bit of it, but I have not had enough time to really like super invest into it yet. But it's been fun so far. Okay, what are these? This is very interesting. You'll search for that one that I recommended? Yeah. So, if you like fantasy and you enjoy Baldur's Gate 3, then Divinity Original Sin 2 is probably going to be a pretty good fit for you. Examine the conduit. The thick muscles tremor and contract. The canal seems to flow towards the pit of bile to the northeast. We'll leave it be for now. I don't want to go smashing stuff out willy-nilly. Oh, this is probably the correct thing to smash, though, because we are trying to get rid of that. But I'm assuming if we smash it, these guys are probably going to come at us. So...
Happily.
Clearing the southeast tunnels, the god form of the glorious eyeless face continues to expand in the south. Use these devices to deepen the tunnels. Do so before the god form fills them, lest you harm their magnificent creation. Alchemical Charge. This simple device contains 2 small reservoirs. When the vessels are split, the substances contained within will intermix to explosive effect. Nice, so we gotta blow them up, basically.
Well, if you insist. Hope that helps. Of course.
Alrighty then, alrighty. Also, how's it going, Patrono? I don't know if it's... I'm assuming it's Patrono, but I'm making a guess there, so if I'm wrong, let me know.
You were saying.
I'm gonna try to see if we can't stealth this, thing. Maybe we can actually do this without fighting these guys? Yeah! Hey, I guessed correctly. Nice. You're from Brazil? Nice! Okay, well... Not feeling super stealthy. Yeah, no way. Okay, we're gonna have to go back out, reset stealth. And I think if we just rush the table, we can probably get it. Well, not without
You were saying?
waiting.
What's on your mind, cutie?
Wait for them to come back. Alright, go. Nice. Very nice.
Your orders? Not a problem, Captain.
Alright, we're gonna save and place the Alchemical Charge and run for cover. Oh shit, that was grody. That just splattered everywhere. Alright, one of these sources of acid down. We just gotta clear the other 2. And then we are... Oh, nope, they mad. They big mad. Alright, so if you're watching now, you can see this is Aloth and this is Facina. So you'll if you watch them, you'll see them just go vroop, 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 through their buff cycle. See? And on the longer spells, they have to wait and cast, and then boop. And there they go. They just keep casting until they finish their buffs, and then boom, they start attacking. Did that guy go invisible? Yeah, there he is. Y'all wanna attack him? Maybe? Had a weird moment.
Give me the order.
Nice.
Happily.
Okay. Grab this. Alright. Familiar with spending several turns buffing? All too familiar? Dude, do you remember when I played, I say this, you absolutely remember, right? So spell slots per rest are totally gone. Absolutely. So spell slots are entirely...
so many eggs? Surely they will spoil.
All abilities are now based entirely on encounter, except for special abilities. So you might see... There might be certain abilities that you only get to do once per rest or a few times per rest, right? So you take, for example, the Watcher has Mane of Death's Herald, right? I can only do this once per long rest or whatever, right? But most spells and abilities, you have a certain number of spell slots, but those slots are for every single combat. Done. Period. And then within the combat, or within a longer rest, you have empowerment points. and empowering can restore slots, can restore abilities, or it can be used to make a single ability or a single attack stronger. So,
Yes?
it provides quite a bit more flexibility in the game compared to the first one. Which can, you know, it's not necessarily better inherently. I prefer it. That's part of the system that I prefer, because I like to be able to cast my spells more frequently or use my abilities more frequently. But it doesn't, you know, it's not necessarily a better thing. Okay, so we can't go down here either, so I think we have to go up this way.
The shadow comes to
I'm
muddy
here.
the light.
I'd be glad to.
Alright. So you'll notice, like, I'm actually actively going out there with my main tank first, and then setting things up. And the reason for that is because I can help pull aggro, basically, by making people target him initially rather than whoever the weakest member of my team is. And that's not something you have to have necessarily. It's just nice. It's nice that whoever the first person is in combat doesn't just get immediately obliterated.
Right between the eyes.
I cannot whack him any harder.
Do you know if the enemy AI changes with difficulty, like priority targeting softer party members? I don't know for certain, but I do believe that
Something's wrong with me.
That was about as useful as a bump on a pickle.
I do believe that the AI is more aggressive and will try to target people more frequently
That's embarrassing.
with things that can kill or debilitate them in the harder difficulties. I don't know that for certain, right? Like, I haven't seen anything that specifically is like, yes, for sure this happens. But just having played the game a couple times, it definitely feels like the harder difficulties are more likely to punish a low defense character or a low deflection character, for example, or if, for say, right, like you have a person with a really low will save. Well, every time you fight a vampire, that person's getting charmed. Like, you might as well just accept it, right? It's that type of situation. I don't know if the game just specifically is really good at doing that, or if that's just been luck. But it feels like, generally speaking, the game is like, yeah.
Stand together.
Hogwash.
Hogwash. Just in general, every, you know, I wouldn't necessarily say, like, the AI is relatively smart, period, even in the base game, right? Even in the normal difficulty. Like, it will try to kill a weak person. But in the harder difficulties, it's more aggressive about it. And it's more aggressive about utilizing debuffs, I think, or charm effects or things like that, which can be a bit of a pain in the ass.
Okay, absolutely.
You guys want to just maybe, like, run away from her, please? Maybe don't kill Shodi. Thank you.
Indeed.
Again, that's mostly anecdotal, though, so, like, Your mileage may vary on that particular situation. That's just been what I have experienced. Like magnets, the two fragments of the God Seed pull weakly towards one another. As a pair, they draw you towards the ground, as if their missing piece lies somewhere deeper within the body. A simple Audra contraption rests before you. A lever on its side appears to be the only way to interact with it. Smell it. The contraption exudes the sharp odor of metal polish and a hint of old meat. Old meat. Oof. Aha, here we go. We've got more books. Ooh, a jade. Alright, we're gonna have to read all these books, y'all. Dreamwalker's Tread. Grants Feast of Dreams. You're trying to decide between Hard and Path of the Damned. Normal was way too easy in one. I would, I'll say this. If you enjoy a challenge, I would just start on Hard. If you enjoy punishment, do Path of the Damned. That's not to say that Path of the Damned is like the hardest thing or that it's tough as nails or anything like that, but the beginning of the game can be way more challenging comparatively, especially if you're not 100% certain on the systems or things like that. So I would almost always, for a veteran of the style, I would say start on Hard, because it's not gonna be as easy as normal is, but it's still not gonna like just be grueling. You know, it won't feel unfair to you. Would be my suggestion. But you know, if you play the first like hour and you're like, this is still too easy, then shit, play Path of the Damned. You know. Asleep until attacked for 10 seconds. The wearer puts a target to sleep and leaps into their dreams. While asleep, the wearer heals over time and is untargetable, but is unable to act. Eesh. I don't like those types of things. +2 stealth, +1 athletics. Ahimi, the Dreamwalker, was a Huana archmage who rose to prominence roughly 3 centuries ago. A gifted cipher, she became an expert manipulator of souls, developing spells of domination, disorientation, and debilitation. Despite the name of these sandals, their enchantments do not actually allow someone to enter the dreams of another. Instead, the wearer becomes insubstantial, a being of pure essence, and assaults the soul of their victim directly, rendering that unfortunate unconscious. Cool.
Indeed.
A lot of books, y'all. Y'all gonna have me reading a whole...
Swift and
Or I'd
quiet.
be running off. You're gonna have me reading a whole bunch. Ooh. This seems suspect.
Of course.
Oh, hey, I bet this is the meteorite. A twisted chunk of iron-like metal rises from whale's flesh, leaning to the side like a crooked tooth. The pitted surface gleams with a disorienting array of colors. This matches Bakarna's description of a fallen star. She came to the Black Isles in search of this marvelous rock. The metal radiates soul energy. The whole area is dense with it. Vague emotions reach out to you. Anger, fear, territorial aggression. None of it feels quite right. What do you make of it, Facina?
I recognize this. Star metal. Arkemir had a few samples lying around, though they did not glow as brightly as this one. He shunned celestial research, tossed out any studies of the sky that crossed his desk. But it wasn't doubt or disagreement that irked him. No, he acted like he was afraid of something.
Oh no. The metal shimmers faintly, responding to your presence. A set of moist black eyes peer out of the depths of your pack. It's gift wrapper. She's trembling. What? No, I do not want to be sacrificing my spider companion. Hey, thanks for the follow, Patrono. Let's look this up real quick. I don't want to I don't want to miss anything, but I also don't want to sacrifice a pet just over nonsense. Gift wrapper. Am I on? Get off of Fextra Life, Jesus! I'm sitting here fucking searching shit, and I'm like, Why do none of these articles actually have any information on them? Because I'm on Fextra Life. That's why. But on the fandom.com site, actually quite a bit of information. Okay. Gift wrapper. Gift wrapper. Nice. Alright, here we go. What do we got? Okay, cool. Gift wrapper is in the Forgotten Sam. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so not end on the Karna quest. Back away slowly. What is this quest? Seeds of Deception. No. Out of Eternal Horizon. Out of Eternal. Out of Eternal Horizon. Here we go. Whoa, looks like we're gonna fight. I'm not... I refuse to sacrifice a pet. Just to make things easier on myself, so... We about to fight.
Happily.
Examine the metal. As you peer closer, the ambient soul energy studies you back with quiet calm. By your reckoning, the essence is little more than an amorphous shape of emotions, though it seems more aware than most incorporeal entities. You can discern nothing else about it. Chip a piece of metal off. Oh! You snap a piece of metal away from the main body. No sooner does it come away in your hands than a discordant wail fills your ears.
Good way.
That was about as useful as a bump on a pickle.
Alright.
Still got it. What can I do you for? Moly, Ixie, on
Come on.
Ooh, nice.
I'm no help here.
Okay, we actually did pretty good there. Oh, these things weren't bad.
Moly, Ixie, on That was about as useful as a bump on a pickle. Moly, Ixie,
Exit on us.
Not bad at all.
Stand together.
I don't know why that's stuck in my head. I've been listening to so much like video game music here lately. I've got a lot of different like tracks stuck in my head.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. So, wow, Emerald, Amber, Black Pearl, Adrabon, or Black Pearl. Fuck,
I hear you.
that's some good shit.
I'll be your lookout.
Of course.
We're definitely gonna have a fight here.
I see you there.
At once.
There's something down here.
Quiet.
Speak freely.
That's kind of a cheap thing about the game, right? Like those teleporters, the Dream Beasts or teleporters, they teleported to my invisible characters because the game still knows that they're there.
Flies.
So, you know.
Exit on us.
That's it.
Holding my guts in here, Captain.
Mow it. Exit on us.
Please heal me.
Mow it. Exit on us. Hogwash.
Oh, this is about to hurt.
Mow it. Exit
Oh
on
shit.
Someone needs us.
Mow it. Exit on us.
That's not very helpful.
Script's going pretty okay.
Mow it. Exit on us.
It feels relatively rare that I feel like I have to take over.
There's a weapon.
You know?
No one noticed that.
Hey, thanks for the follow, Carl. Hope you've enjoyed your time in the stream tonight. I really enjoy answering questions like that, so like if you ever have a question about anything, I might not always have the answer,
You were
or
saying?
my answer
Give me the
might be
order.
just anecdotal, but you know.
Happily.
Polyps. Blinky. Blinky. Oh shit, look at this.
Next time, I will secure a body that lasts.
It's a little floating iPad.
Indeed.
Oh shit, we just got Blinky. Blinky. What the fuck is Blinky? Sort by time. Blinky gives resistance to perception afflictions to the main character, and then gives +5 melee accuracy to the party. That's pretty cool. Like the interactivity too. It's easy to look up stuff online, but it bothers me that a lot of internet info on this game and the first can be outright wrong with all the balancing patches they do. Yeah, that's true. It's kind of difficult to keep track of all of the different things. Not only the variety between balancing patches and things like that. Obviously, I think now things are mostly settled down, but the first year that this game was out, for example, a lot of changes happened. Like a whole lot of changes happened. So yeah, I can definitely see that. But then also there's the scenario of there's just so much information, and it's with the state of gaming in this day and age, with like, you know, back in the day, like I say back in the day, like 10, 20, 30 years ago, depending on your age, right? A game came out and it was the game. That was it. End of discussion. So like a guide or information was always going to be the same. But like games these days, they get patches, they get live updates, you know, they're living rather than stagnant, so they change way more frequently. So I can definitely feel you on that. Game facts, baby. Yeah, right? Hell, I still use a lot of game facts, honestly. Like, absolutely. Okay, let us move on. What do we got going on here? This eye is just like looking at us, and I feel like we gotta bust some polyps here. Oh, his whole face just popped. Inner mysteries? Ah, that one broke this one. Gotcha. Alright, absolutely. Cool. Okay, we have to go read the books to figure out how to open this door, basically. Ooh, let's go talk to Bakarna real quick, though. Let's go talk to Bakarna, and I think maybe that will be the end of this episode. Bodie boy, you just sleeping on me all night? He just like his face twitches like he hears me, but he's like, no, I don't care. Don't want it. Leave me alone. Aw, poor boy. Oh, hey! An uneasy feeling comes over you. You realize that your pack is quivering, gently but insistently. Thanks for the tip on DOS2. Going to sleep now? Yeah, absolutely. If you end up playing it, I hope you enjoy it. Have a good time. Have a good one. Oh, gods, it's the egg! As you rummage through your pack, your hand brushes against what feels like moist eggshells, still warm from the departure of their erstwhile occupant. Among your gear, an eyeball slowly opens, then another, then another, then another. Something pokes its head out and opens its tiny jaws, revealing a row of pointed teeth. It lets out a triumphant chirp. Aren't you just an adorable little monstrosity? The creature runs its tongue along its teeth. It chirps again before diving back into the warmth and safety of your pack.
What a fancy little gentleman. Can we dress it up? Oh, I wonder what it eats.
Oh my god. Maya coos down the mouth of your pack while Ishiza quietly pouts at her heels. What is it?
You were saying?
What did we get? Ah, we got a new pet. Retina. +1 enemies needed to flank. That's actually pretty strong. And then +5 accuracy against distant enemies. That's also relatively strong. That's funny.
What's on your mind, cute? Aye, aye.
Okay, where are we heading? Oh, yeah, right. We're going to Bakarna. Bakarna!
I remember you.
Give her star metal. Will this work as a celestial catalyst? Bakarna gingerly accepts the rock, turning it over to study its pitted surface. Her eyes are wide. Doesn't tremble in the slightest.
This is the one.
I didn't see you cast any spell. How could you even know this?
Basina steps closer to observe, but Bakarna holds her at a distance.
Stand back, Watcher. I have waited so long for this moment. Not even gratitude will slow me down.
Steeling herself, Bakarna spreads her feet apart and raises her wand to the sky. Don't let me down, game. Don't let me down, game. A breeze you don't feel ruffles Bakarna's robes and stirs her hair. She opens her eyes and a smile slowly forms on her lips.
A moment, Watcher. I doubt I could forget the words if I lived to be 1,000, but let me write them down where they belong.
She flips open her grimoire and begins to pin some runes in a sweeping, elegant script. Basina leans in to study the script. Her eyes don't seem to know where to settle on the page. Finally, she turns to you.
The circle doesn't deserve talent like hers.
Ho 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 ho!
There. Bakarna's Midnight Daydream. Not a bad ring to it, huh?
Interesting. She folds the book shut and sighs.
Keep this as a memento, my friend. A nice statement piece for the dinner table. That hum of power is relaxing in the palm of your hand, no?
Bakarna kisses her fingers and touches them to the star metal before passing it on to you. Celestial Agitator. Grants servants of the stars. The user releases spirits held in the star metal. Whenever one of these spirits is killed, the wielder receives a random inspiration, including strong, fit, quick, insightful, smart, or steadfast. So all of the inspirations. You can only use it once per rest, though. Has a cast time of 6. Has a duration of 30 seconds. This fragment of the distant stars is not of this world, yet it hums with arcane power. The pitted core of the metal is heavy with dormant spirit energy. Territorial and aggressive, the spirits can manifest to counter an external threat. They don't seem particularly drawn to Aora's native Adra, else they would have fled the metal by now.
You scribed a new spell? Right there on the spot?
I had an early draft prepared already, but it was missing a little something.
Gonna get going as well. Have a good evening, and thanks for the chat. Absolutely, thanks for stopping by. Hope you enjoy. Bakarna's Midnight Daydream. What does it do?
It channels starlight into a living ball, inspiring and motivating all that it touches before dispersing back into the ether.
That sounds pretty cool.
As spells go, it is a little tough to control, but maybe not bad for a first start.
You feel any different now that you've scribed a spell?
I feel as if I have climbed a long and winding staircase, opened the door at the top, and found a polished spyglass waiting for me. Now I have the entire sky to still explore.
Nice.
I do not know what comes next, but I am pleased to have come this far, especially with good company. For now, I want to spend some time with my book and my observatory. And a well-deserved cup of tea.
She squeezes her grimoire in a tight embrace. I guess I'm off. Congratulations, Bakarna.
Before you go, a parting gift. You have done enough for me that I owe you more than all of Parchment.
I was legitimately concerned there for a second. I was like, are they really gonna have this lady like make a new spell and then just give me an item, not the actual spell? Oh, I was legitimately concerned.
I happened upon this friendly-looking book while you were out looking for the star metal. And here there is a blank page, like it was waiting for us.
She winks up at you.
May you do great things with it.
She passes you the grimoire and blesses. Celestial Grimoire. Oh, right, I
Thanks
can't.
to you, I have remembered much, and learned more than I could ever forget. A Grasimer Watcher. This would have been extremely unlikely without good friends.
You give us too much credit for something you figured out alone. Bask in that achievement and let me know how it feels, Ak.
Bakarna spares you a brief smile before flipping open her grimoire to study the words she wrote. Alright, let's check out this fucking spell. Or grimoire, anyways. Celestial Grimoire. Really? It's only a 7th level spell. Oh, what? A bolt of celestial energies bounces between allies, granting them a random inspiration from any of the level 2s. That's actually pretty cool. I don't know that it's like super strong or anything like that, but it's pretty cool. If you have increased bonuses from your intelligence to increase the length of the buff past 100%, 24 plus 24 or more seconds on a buff is not bad, especially if that buff is affecting more people, right? So that's pretty cool. That's honestly though, just the coolest thing is looking at this and going, "Hey, look at this. That's Bakarna's first spell." That's so neat. It's so neat. Look at the, we got Lingrath and Arkemir, and we got another Lingrath. Damn, a lot of Lingrath on this, right? But just seeing, knowing prior to this moment that there is no spellbook that has Bakarna's in it, right? And now there is, and now there's the future that 100 years from now, mages all across the world have Bakarna's Midnight Daydream inscribed in their spellbook. That's super cool. That's super cool. Alright, that's going to be the end of this video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.